What is midlife? How do you know it's happening to you? And why don't more people talk about it? You will learn all of this and more from today's special guest. Stay tuned. Hello, hello, hello. You are listening to the Manifest on Purpose show. I am your host, Kimberly. Today, our special guest is Jack. She is the founder and CEO of Kuel Life, which is a platform that redefines modern midlife for women 45 plus through relevant content and products. Hello, Jack. How are you?
I'm great, Kim. Do you go by Kim or
Kimberly.
Kimberly, the whole thing? Okay, I will do that. Hi, Kimberly. It's good to meet you. Thank you for hosting me.
You're welcome. My pleasure. How did you get on the journey of redefining midlife for ages 45 plus?
Well, when I started going through the physiological transition in my early 50s, which is called menopause, and every other human goes through it if we're lucky enough to live long enough, I started to feel all of the symptoms, very negative symptoms. I know that lots of women go through the process, get through the biological imperative years onto what I believe this is a much better phase of life now that I'm past it. But yeah, a lot of things can go wrong, I guess, or can be bothersome. And if you name a symptom, it feels like I had it, from weight gain to brain fog, anxiety, all of it. And what I realized was that I was very lost. I didn't have sources for information. My medical, my doctor at the time, wasn't very helpful. She was just like, "Oh, it's just menopause. You're just going to have to get over it, get used to it." I wasn't getting the answers that I wanted. I knew that there had to be other solutions available that I just wasn't privy to. And then I also realized that I could not be the only woman who felt alone and unsupported during this phase of life. That was the impetus for me to do something. And that's why I built basically a digital platform, a repository where I began to cultivate and bring together all of these thought leaders from around the world who are experts in these arenas that are important to us, the challenges and the opportunities that present themselves. And it's far more than just the physiological changes, Kimberly. I mean, that's definitely for me, one of the things that precipitated my decision to enter this space. But there are a myriad of other situations that happen during this phase of life, and everything from, if you've decided to have children, you either are dealing with teenagers, which can be very difficult. And you might be dealing with a teenager stealing your car at 3 a.m. the same day that you get a phone call from the nursing care facility that your mother has broken a hip. And so you're trapped between these two generations. It's actually called the sandwich generation. That is pretty unique to this time of life. And if that were just it, right? But you keep going. Most divorces are initiated by women after 50. Okay, well, that opens up an entire new realm of challenges and opportunities. How do you proceed with a gray divorce? What do you do how do you protect your assets? What do you do after a divorce? Do you go back into the dating pool? What if you have a dry vagina? How do you date with a dry vagina? I could keep going and going and going. And when I realized that it was basically like opening up Pandora's box and that nobody was really addressing all of the challenges and opportunities, I wanted to create a space, a repository where we could bring that information into one place that women and men, but mostly women, can access so that we know what's going on and we can help ourselves. And that's why I did it.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I never thought about it like that. But what you said, that it's like a sandwich, that sounds exactly like what it is. You explained it right on. When do you think that most people start experiencing this? I've heard you talk about the 50s. Some people say in the 40s. When can women, generally start to expect this transformational period to start happening?
That's a great question. In hindsight, I realized I was already going through a lot of the transitions as early as my early 40s. But back then, I had a small child because I started motherhood late. I did not have my child until I was 38. So I had a preschooler or a kindergartner, while at the same time I was having night sweats and insomnia. I didn't put the two and two together as, potentially those symptoms being perimenopausal, because I was raising a small child and was still menstruating regularly. But now in hindsight, I realize that that transition started, a decade before it actually finished. The thing is that I didn't need to suffer all those years with those ridiculous symptoms. Had a doctor said to me, "Oh, you're experiencing this, this could be perimenopause. Here, you should watch out for this and that and the other. And here are some things that you could potentially do to make the symptoms less severe, or to help your stress, or to help your sleep." But no, there wasn't anything like that, because sadly, the medical professionals today just don't know that much about women's physiology. They just were not trained. They don't have the expertise or the knowledge. Now there's a whole slew of younger doctors that are realizing that women as a whole have been pretty ignored on the medical front. And now things are starting to change. I have a professional who focuses on women's hormones. That's her job. That's how big a job it is. That she has selected that specialty. It's a big job.
Wow, this is powerful. This is powerful. And you are definitely giving a lot of information and insight, because there's some things that I did not even realize what was happening. And the part you were talking about in the beginning, you were caring for a young child. Do you think that's why a lot of women kind of bypass this, because they just think that it's nothing different? Things are just getting a little difficult and they just do what they have to do to push through whatever it is that they're experiencing during the time.
What other choice have we had? We haven't been set up in society to be able to register small complaints and feel like, okay, well, there might be a solution to this small complaint. We've been brought up to suck it up. I mean, think about, just having really bad period cramps when you're a kid. Every 28 days, you feel super sick. You're not in your right mind. You're in pain, a lot of pain. But does anyone say, hey, don't go to school, don't go to your job, don't, pick up your kid from school, don't be, you can take the day off from being kind to your neighbor? No, we have learned as early as 11 or 12, whenever that thing happened to us, we learned to suck it up from the very beginning. So of course we're not paying attention to these minor changes that are happening to us, or thinking, oh, maybe we should do something about it. No, I don't think we're conditioned to think that way.
Jack, you're my new hero. You are my Shiro. I mean, the question I want to ask is that I noticed during this time, when all of this craziness is going on, it kind of seems like in society, people don't hear too much about the ages 45 plus. It's like we kind of, out of everything that's going on, we kind of disappear from the scene. And I think this is a lot of what you do also. It's hard. Nobody targets that age. What is it that makes people seem like they're so in fear of that age or those stages in life that keeps us left out?
Well, in part, honestly, it's because it's the first time in humanity, period. It's the first time ever since humans have walked the earth that there's the sheer number of people in this age category for the first time. Because in the early 1900s, the average lifespan of a white woman was 51. For someone like you, a person of color, it was even less than that. Yes, there were women and men that lived into their 80s, 90s, and 100. Of course, they existed, but not as a large group, not as a cohort of humans that currently live on the planet. This is the first time ever between the boomers, the Gen Xers, and then the young millennials, where we have gajillions, thousands upon thousands of people that are in this lifespan, which in some ways, Kimberly, is a brand new lifespan. I'm talking like 45 to like 80. It feels like that's a whole new lifespan that's been given to us that we don't have a lot of information on how to live it, how to model it. And so in so many ways, the reason that we're ignored and we become invisible is because there hasn't been a lot that's been setting the stage for us. There hasn't been a lot of history for us to go, oh, that's how the last generation did it. What can we improve upon? No, we are designing it as we speak, which is, good and bad, right? I mean, we get to be, a significant part of that conversation and of that sea change and of making elderly people and older people not invisible. Because I don't know about you, but I think there's a huge chasm between mini skirts and depends, adult diapers. And it's in that space that I think we can all live our very big, cool lives, which is why I call the platform Kuel Life, because I truly believe that we are capable to live this entire new lifespan as coolly as we want to, and whatever it means for you. Right? I mean, not everybody is going to, I don't know, start running 100-milers or jump out of an airplane or travel the world. I mean, for some people, it might be, I want to spend more time with my grandkids, or I want to start a new business or whatever. But it's a lifespan that wasn't really available to us previous to this time span. And so I think that's in part, we're battling that there's no modeling, there's no history. We're creating it real time.
So what should we be doing in creating this new model for ourselves?
I think we're doing it, having these conversations, talking about the fact that we do exist, that we aren't wearing adult diapers. We need to see women and men that look like us with the products and services that we currently use. And we don't see that. We just don't see that. And the deal is that women own the majority of the wealth in this world. And in part, it's because men die earlier. And so women are left with, legacy money from their relationships, from their marriages, from their parents, and they live longer. And so women are the COOs of their household. They make 80 to 90% of the purchasing decisions. And we're not talking brand of toothpaste or toilet paper. We're talking, second cars, second homes, investment portfolios. The fact that these brands are ignoring that target market is they're hurting themselves. And I believe it's starting to become apparent to some of them. I think some of them are making a change.
I'm going to suggest that all of the listeners check out your website at kuellife.com. KuelLife.com. That's KUELLIFE. Jack, can you tell us just a little bit about the amazing work that you do on this platform?
Well, what I hope to bring to the world is a place where women and men can go to get real information on the subject matters that they care about, that we care about. You can't go to that platform and just peruse and not find at least 2 or 3 articles that will speak to something in your life if you are 45 and above. And the interesting thing, Kimberly, is that half of our readers are below 45. And the only thing I can think of is that women are curious about what's coming. And they want to be better prepared. And my hat's off to them. I'm so glad that our younger sisters are being proactive and looking into this information so that they're not sideswiped so that they're not left going, well, what happened to me? Why am I not happy? Why am I, overweight? Why am I anxious? No, there are real solutions to these issues should they arise in your life. You don't have to accept it and be miserable. You don't have to. So don't. So that's I don't want anyone to suffer if they don't need to.
I have to be transparent with you, Jack. I got stuck on a few of your articles when I was on your website. They were so interesting. I was like, okay, let me read the next one. Let me read the next one. So you are so correct. It's a lot of information that's informing. And I felt like you were speaking directly to me, like there were issues that spoke to some of the things that I'm experiencing in life.
Well, because here's the deal, Kimberly, we are far more similar than we are dissimilar. If you and I sat and we talked for a couple hours, I bet we would discover that we were way more alike than we think we are. And honestly, I think that's what that platform does. I think it brings together women from all over the world, because I have a thought leader roster that is 60 women strong now. And these women come from all over. They come from Mallorca, Spain. They come from New Zealand. They come from Canada, all over the US. And they are speaking on these topics from their perspective. But because we're all way more alike than we'd like to care to think we are, I think that's why it speaks to you. And I'm glad that it speaks to you, because I created it with a you in mind, right? I wanted to speak to you. And so that makes me feel good that we're doing the right thing, that we have the right voice, that we are reaching the right audience, and we are bringing the information that I think will make these transitions so much easier on women. And on top of that, I also think it will allow women to kind of, stretch their wings a little bit, like kind of maybe give some thoughts that they hadn't thought of before, because they're reading that somebody else is doing it. And maybe it's like, oh, I didn't even know that was a possibility. Or, wow, that's an interesting way of tackling that problem. I didn't think about using that trick or tip. And so I feel like if we learn more about all of the opportunities that are presented to us at this time, and we have more information from all different viewfinders, that we can make better decisions in our own life. And that's what I want to be part of,
That's so amazing. I'm glad that someone like you was able to step up and do that for people all over the world. Now, the next question that I want to ask you, and this is probably going to be, I want you to give us a final word. Let's just say that someone is in that age range, in the 40s, moving into the 50s, and they feel like something is changing in their life. They feel like something is different. What tips and what advice would you give them to help them move forward and to go through this transformation in a way that leaves them feeling fulfilled and happy inside?
Well, first of all, don't do it alone. I mean, community and partnership, friendship, connection, honestly, those are the leading indicators of having a healthy, long life. Those are far more important than your BMI or whether or not you smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. So don't do it alone, because if you feel that something's changing, something is changing, period. Don't pretend it's not. Don't second guess yourself. And then the other thing is, try to get as much information as possible on whatever it is you feel is changing. If you feel it's physiological, start reading up on all the physiological changes. If you feel like something's changing in your primary relationship with your spouse, or something's changing with your primary relationship with your kids, don't ignore it, because more than likely it's happening. And rather than bury your head in the sand, talk to your friends, talk to other women in your community that you can trust, get information, go to Kuel Life, go to the About page, look at the women who are writing on these topics, read their articles to get more information. And if you need even more support than that, a lot of them, you can reach out to them and they can help you directly. And so know that you don't have to go it alone. and know that you don't have to pretend it's not happening, because it is happening. If you're thinking it, it's happening.
Thank you so much. And I think that's what a lot of us need to know too. Sometimes we kind of run away from it, but what we really need is to know and admit that it is happening so that we can make the necessary adjustments.
Yeah.
Jack, you redefined modern midlife for us today. Thank you so much. You have shared a wealth of knowledge with us, and I am so impressed at the things that you are doing, the platform that you have built to help women go through this period. And not just women, you said men also go through a period that a lot of people ignore, a lot of people just don't understand. You've created a home for all of us all around the world. Thank you so much, Jack. It was a pleasure having you here. Do you want to give that website one more time so that everyone can make sure they get that before they go?
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to ask me twice. It's Kuel Life, because I believe that there's plenty of cool life to be lived. And it is spelled all cattywampus with a K. So it's KUEL life, LIFE.com. Yes. And most of the content is free. Do yourself a favor, go out there and start perusing. I think you'll find many, many articles that are empowering and enriching and rewarding to read.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.